I was sitting at this summer camp late in the afternoon. Shit, some people started talking about this game called Last of Us. I'd never heard of it, but the passion behind their voices and the way they spoke about it, it really made me want to give it a go. So when I got home, I bought it, loaded it up, knowing nothing about it, and ever since then, I've never been the same. My name is Franz, and I want to talk about how this game changed me, how it re-inspires my passion for video games every time I play it, and 5 years after the first time I've played it, I still think about it on a regular basis. I've played this game so many times, I've watched people play it so many times, and this is going to be my personal experience as to why I love this game, but mainly talking about why I love the environment of this game. But first, let's start with the intro of the game, and why I think it sets the tone for the whole story so perfectly. When you first start the game, you are met with two characters. Their relationship is immediately apparent by Sarah's selfless act to wait up hours and hours to give Joel a gift that she somehow managed to scrape together the funds for. It's a small gesture, but it shows how much she means to him. The zombie outbreak has just begun, and you start the game as Sarah.
What was that all about?
Walking around the home feels really unsettling.
Dad?
As you explore the house, the tension of what's at
Daddy?
stake starts to build. The missed calls at midnight from Joel's brother,
Where the hell are you?
the explosion on the TV, the police car driving by the house. This atmosphere is so alive and also terrifying. You don't know what to expect, and nor does Sarah. After you find Joel, you decide to leave, knowing it's not safe there anymore. The car ride that follows is one of the most iconic moments in the whole game. Seeing everything around you fall apart, catching the smallest detail depending on where you look, this scene is truly amazing at world building. The aliveness of it all, the sense that every person out there has their own story. Eventually, they have to start traveling on foot. In this early part of the game, you feel incredibly vulnerable. No weapons, no ability to fight back. Tommy, Joel's brother, is your only protection.
Get to the highway! Go! You got Sarah!
When you get separated from Tommy, your sense of security vanishes. Infected start chasing you, and you can't seem to outrun them. But when all hope seemed lost,
It's okay, baby. We're safe. We're safe. We need help. Stop! My daughter, I think her leg's broken. Stop right there! Okay. We're not sick.
this opening sequence is unforgettable. This game destroys the expectations of a traditional hero's journey. You're gonna get something that's harsh, emotional, and unapologetically real.
Oh no.
From that moment, you know the story isn't about saving the day or a hero prevailing over evil. It's about survival, loss, and the lengths people will go to protect someone they love. The Last of Us was remastered 2 times, once for the PS4 and once for the PS5. I played the game on the PS4 remastered, and at the time the environment blew me away. The apocalyptic, overgrown world was just breathtaking. Throughout my whole life, one thing stood out to me with any game I played: the environment. And I only really started to have a passion for environments when I started playing this game called Arma 3 Life. If you don't know what it is, it's basically GTA, but the NPCs are actual people. So you have really fun and interesting interactions with everyone. So I was about 13 or 14 when I started playing this game, and Arma 3 just started my addiction for video games. I was obsessed with this game. If I wasn't playing it, I was thinking about it. And I remember I would just walk as fast back from school as I possibly can to go and play this game. It literally just took over my life. Whether that's a bad thing or a good thing, I don't know. But I loved playing this game. But after this one incident, my reasons as to why I play games started to shift slowly. So this one time I was just playing, minding my own business, and then these two guys kidnapped me, took me to an island, and left me there when they realized I had no money to give them. The only option I had was to relog and respawn at the main town. But I decided to take a moment to just be on that island. This game is so hectic and chaotic, I never really had a chance to just be by myself and just look around. I stood there, stranded, looking out over the ocean. In that stillness, I realized how beautiful the game was. For the first time, I truly noticed the immersive world around me. That moment made me realize how lost I'd become in the game. How deeply I allowed myself to be immersed in this fake reality. It was like my mind broke free, and I started to reflect. And to this day, I load up games for that specific reason. The fact that you can just load up any game and get completely lost in it, it blows my mind to think there wasn't a time where you could do this.
Screw it.
After leaving Billstown, you drive towards a city. When venturing into the city, you come across a man asking for help on the road, and Joel immediately recognizes this as a trap.
He ain't even hurt.
And after giving them what they deserve, and looting the surrounding area, you come across something disturbing.
There's some pretty gnarly stuff in here.
Ellie!
Look.
Oh my god.
Fucking hunters. See, this could have been us.
Man, that is a lot of people that didn't make it.
When I first saw this, I thought the people who did this were monsters, until Joel says this.
How did you know
Know what?
about the ambush?
I've been on both sides.
Kill a lot of innocent people?
At this moment, you are conflicted with what a good or bad person is. Would Joel be considered a bad person? That's up to you to decide. The way Last of Us approaches morality is very unique. In normal games or stories, I'm very used to the idea of a hero and a villain. For example, in Far Cry, with their wickedly evil villains and their heroic heroes. Last of Us takes those tropes and throws it out the window, and makes a character with flaws. It doesn't push ideas onto you, but simply presents them in front of you, giving you the power to decide. The moral grey areas in Last of Us is what makes it feel so real. It makes me think back to the beginning of the game, when the soldier was ordered to execute Joel and Sarah. He didn't want to, but he was ordered to. I love how Last of Us throws these ideas at you, and these aren't just ideas that you think about after playing the game, but also during the game, in moments when nothing happens. Last of Us's pacing is purposefully slow, so that you think whilst the game is playing. It's up to every single person in the Last of Us universe to place their moral line, and the game makes you question your own moral compass. Like, what would you do if you were in an apocalypse? Would you do whatever it takes to survive, even if it means losing who you are in the process? Last of Us just gets down to the core of what makes people human, which is what makes it feel so real.
Sam?
You meet Henry and Sam by accident. You both want to survive and escape the city. Ellie bonds with Sam, and Joel bonds with Henry. Though it did take a while. But I'm not talking about them when it comes to loss. I'm talking about something different, something that you encountered along the journey with them.
A what?
It's a sort of alarm. Someone used to live here. Don't look like that's the case anymore.
You stumble upon a sewer and you find out that it used to be inhabited by someone. And you find notes and drawings, and the environmental storytelling here is just amazing. As you keep going, you piece together the story of what actually happened here. So you find out that a man named Ish lived in the sewers. He lived there quite safe, but he wasn't happy because he was alone. So on a supply run, he actually encountered some people who were friendly for once. The people he met had children and they didn't have a place to go. So after conversing for a bit and trading supplies, they both went their separate ways. But as Ish got back to his lonely sewer, he thought to himself that what was the point of living if he had no one to share it with? So he went back out and he actually found them and invited them back. They ended up living quite happily, playing, enjoying each other's company, and just being safe. This is a complete contrast to a person we met earlier in the story, Bill.
Yeah, sure, Joel. Go ahead. Take my card. Take all my food, too, while you're at it.
By the looks of it, you could lose some of that food.
Listen to me, you little shit.
Bill and Ish were in the same boat at one point. They both had a choice: either stay lonely and safe, or risk it all to not be alone. Bill took the safe option, but Ish didn't. His reason was a life of solitude is no life he wants to live. Bill knew that, but took the way of survival over thriving. Whether either of them were the right choice, we don't know. But what we do know is that later on, the sewer got swarmed with infected, wiping out a lot of the group, due to one person leaving the door open by accident. But Bill will never have this issue, because he's alone. The only person that can make a mistake is him, but he's not worried about him making a mistake. He's not worried about him dying. He's worried about something else.
Look, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about. A partner. Somebody I had to look after. And in this world, that sort of shit's good for one thing: getting you killed. So you know what I did? I wisened the fuck up. And I realized it's gotta be just me.
Bill, it ain't like that. It's
Bullshit. It is just like that. Hey! What'd I say to you when we walked down the steps? What'd I say?
Bill's paranoia and unwillingness to connect drove Frank, Bill's partner, away. And in the end, he lost them anyway, but in the worst way possible. Meanwhile, Ish took the opposite route. He knew the risk and decided to invite people he didn't even know into his only sanctuary, though it didn't end well for them. And it makes you think, was it worth it? Is it better to avoid loss and never connect? Or is the experience of connection worth the pain that it might cause? I love that Last of Us tells a whole different story with a whole different community through the history of the environment, notes, and drawings you find. The environmental storytelling is so well done. You really get a sense as to the type of person Ish really was. I actually ended up getting really into the story of all the notes and stuff left around and was kind of bummed to figure out that it was all over after leaving. The fun part about the way the story is told is that you find bits and pieces of the story scattered throughout the sewer. It's like a puzzle piece. You rummage around trying to assemble a puzzle so it all makes sense. I think it's so important for a game to tell stories through its environment because it brings the whole Last of Us world to life, showing that there's other people living their own stories, that Joel and Ellie aren't the main characters. They're the same as everyone else. After leaving the sewers, you enter into the residential area. There's a bunch of houses that you can loot and just wander around and explore. As you explore, you come across loads of different things like the ice cream truck, the dartboard. It's just a nice, relaxing area.
Boosh! I am a natural.
Luck.
No, it wasn't.
I personally like the dartboard area because you can actually use the dartboard after Ellie and Sam are done playing with it. And Joel is pretty good at darts, I gotta say. Now, none of this is really thrillingly entertaining, but it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a breath of fresh air whilst you're playing. And these areas pop up throughout the whole time you're playing the game, but only at specific moments. A moment ago, you were in the sewers, and if you explored enough, you came across this room, and what was inside was really disturbing. Next to the man's body was a note, and after reading it, you realize how much more disturbing it really is. When the infected took over the sewers, Kyle got trapped with a group of the other kids. Infected were banging down on the door, and there was nothing they could do. Kyle waited for ages and ages, and no help arrived. In his mind, it was either being eaten alive, dying of starvation, or just making it quick for everyone. And so he did the hardest thing. He did a unspeakable thing. And then in the town, you find a note from Ish, who actually made it out with a group of other people. And it just really makes you think how unfair this world really is. So moments where Ellie and Sam are throwing darts at a dartboard, it's really a stark contrast to what you just experienced. And simply wandering around a town is also very therapeutic and refreshing from hearing and seeing all of these horrible things that happen to people. I just love these environments that I call breathers that just emerge as you play the game. They pop up throughout the whole game at any points where something big happens in the story, and just wandering through the environment is so relaxing. The environments are just so alive, with the butterflies flying around, the leaves waving in the wind, a squirrel running across a cable. Things like this make an environment alive. That's what makes an environment great compared to an environment that just looks good. I just can't help to just take my time and just take in everything I see and feel in these environments. Overall, Last of Us is one of my favorite games of all time, if not my favorite game of all time. Its environment never ceases to amaze me, and no matter how many times I play it, I will always enjoy it. The amount of enjoyment I simply get from just wandering around in the video game, it always re-inspires my passion for video games. Just the amount of effort and creativity they put into making these environments is enough for me to appreciate it, to just walk around in awe. And when I do wander around these environments, it brings me back to when I was just a kid playing Arma 3. And at that time, that was the best video game environment I'd ever seen. And I guess when this game got remastered, the environment did make me feel like that kid again. How I felt when I played Arma 3 and how realistic I thought that environment was. How it fascinated me that a whole world like this could be put on a computer. I guess that's why I play any video game with a good environment. Just to feel like that kid again. And now that I'm older and I know how everything works in video games, and I can be very analytical about how games work and what they do, I just sometimes like to load up a game and just switch the analytical part of me off and just be that imaginative kid again, just wondering what is out there in that world.